Hey everybody, so what I'd like to do is start going through my version of learning the fretboard, and it's based off of the CAGED system. That's the CAGED forms that you probably are familiar with. If you're not, there's a lot of excellent examples of it on YouTube, taught by a lot of people. But I do a little bit of a different approach where I'm trying to integrate the CAGED positions um, with the major scale and practicing it that way. So we'll start off right away. Most people know the E position, which is based off of the open, like the open E chord here. We just move it down to the fifth fret, it becomes the A chord, right? And it's just barred. Okay, so we know this. Now you may know, if you know minor pentatonic, what we want to start doing is adding the major pentatonic. So minor pentatonic in this position would be, right, and then it's usually going to be an E minor sound, but you could do the major. You just have to watch the third, because it's obviously a major third as opposed to a flatted third that you would have in the minor pentatonic. That's a flat third. So it's 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. That's your minor pentatonic. Your major pentatonic in this position would be, so that fits in really nicely, right? That's the 1, the 2, the 3, 5, 6, 1. Okay, so it's good to just practice that, practice it with a metronome. So you could just do it really, or all the way down. Now, the next step though is to start incorporating the actual major scale into it. So that's just adding a few extra notes to the major pentatonic. So that's going to be, instead of, it's going to be, right? That's the major scale, A major scale, A major pentatonic, right? A minor pentatonic. But A minor pentatonic is going to sound better over an A minor or an A dominant 7, A7. So these are a lot of things to choose from. The reason we want to start learning the major scale is, at least the reason I'm working on that in all positions on the fretboard, is because you can then translate the major scale into whatever song is going on. In other words, if it's even if it's a minor sounding song, like in the Dorian mode, you can just, you find the major scale that it relates to, start and emphasize the second note of that major scale, which is the Dorian mode, and then all you're doing then is using the same fingerings as far as the major scale, but you are emphasizing that Dorian note, the second note, right? So we'll get to that, but that's the reason. That's the reason why a lot of times we get very overwhelmed when someone starts talking about, oh, it's Mixolydian, that's a Dorian scale. So you're thinking, oh, I've got to learn all these different scales, and most people, unless you just have a real knack for it, have a hard time really making the association of the note to the string position, which is important to learn that, and to at least try to learn that. But most people are working off of patterns, right? So the idea is that if you're working on the pattern, you're developing your ear, you can rely on just one scale, which is the major scale, and you can just translate that into whatever's going on in the song. Now, it gets a little more complicated if the song starts changing key, but most songs, popular music, doesn't necessarily do that a lot. So we're in good shape if we could just figure out what the key is. We'll get to that, but for now, we're going to practice the major scale, the minor pentatonic, the major pentatonic, based off the CAGED system. So again, this is the E position, we already did this, so that would be the major in this vertical position, and then play the chord, right? Now, what's even better is if we play it three notes per string, right? Because that brings you down the fretboard. You want to start working to be more horizontal along the fretboard as opposed to being up and down, right? I mean, that's even a little bit clumsy because of the 3 and then 2 versus right. So it's moving us from this CAGED position, which is the E. What's the next position in CAGED? It's going to be the D, right? Which is from here. And I also like playing these CAGED chords without the 3, the third. Keeps it more open, and you can use it for both minor and major because it's not defining, because the third defines the minor or the major, as opposed to, which is fine too, but that's right. So same thing. Here's like a power chord in this position, as opposed to. So getting back to the D position here, we can play. So that's the major scale, right? Or 3 per. Right? So that's what we're doing today. We're doing from the CAGED system, we've got the E and the D. These are the chords that are behind both A chords. A here from this note, and then from here, based on this note, A, full bar, and then we've got our major pentatonic. Major pentatonic here would be but then starting to add extra notes to create the actual full major scale. And same thing here. Down to the D. See the 3 notes per string here in the major scale, starting at the E form, brings us all the way through to the D form. So that's really powerful because that breaks you out of any boxes and starts allowing you to kind of sound a little bit more musical and start finding yourself in a wider range, a wider octave range, right? So instead of just here, you're here. Right? It's good. And you're right there to play the next. So it goes beyond the D. It's going to be C, right? So we'll just do that. Here's the C. All A's. Fine, and just start practicing your root. A, right? A. And then you know that this A down here is for the C form. And then this A here is for the A form. So we'll get to the application of the major scale, but for now we're just going to start really practicing the major scale as it relates to the minor and major pentatonics, especially the major pentatonic. And then we'll pick up. I'll work on the other. We'll work on the other cage positions next time, and progress from there. So hopefully you found this helpful, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks.